So don't forget the concept is up until after the people got out of the ark, people were vegetarians. They were not eating animals, and we got the permission to eat animals after the rescue of all of the animals in the Teva. So recognizing that Behemot Torot, that clean animals are going to have a more major role in the future, is something that is prophetic. Not only in the sense of realizing that they're tahor, but in realizing that they're going to be something that's going to be helpful to society more than any other animal, because who knew that you were going to be able to eat animals?
Well, not society. Torah is only the goyim could eat the non-kosher animals.
But they weren't before the Teva.
They were eating animals at all.
Man did not have that permission.
I heard it's always
so recognizing
it's prophetic in that because he's going to make korbanot afterwards, so you can only have a kosher animal for a korban.
Moving along. Tikach lecha with a tavir. So we remember tavir is something that is perhaps encompassed or sheltered something by something else.
Or tabur, we said, it's like a belly button. It looks like there's a belly button in there.
You shall take for you, number 4, in order to compensate for their continuous heavy losses, you shall take for you to the box an increased amount of specimen. So the Behemot Torot, the animals that are going to have more purpose than just procreation, are going to need a larger number of them to come on the ark if you're going to preserve the species. So they need more sheltering than all of the other animals, and because he's got to take more. So tikach lecha is the concept of sheltering more, because some of them are going to go to another purpose other than just preserving the species. Shiv'ah with a mercha. This is something that gently rolls in the stuff that's before and moves on to what's going to go after it. 7, which is number 5, is 7. And oddly enough, number 6 is 7 as well, but number 7 is not. 7 suitable pairs shall be admitted to the ark for procreation of a healthy, selective stock, as shown by the directional shape of the reading mark. So, you shall take is a little bit included in the 7 because it's got the mercha, but it's going to lead into this second shiv'ah, this number 6, which has the tipcha, which is going to fold back and include the previous concept in it. 7 corresponding animals of the opposite sex shall constitute matching pairs, as suggested by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So the second 7 is going to complete the first set of 7. So you're not only going to take 7 of the pure animals. You're going to take 14. You're going to take 7 pairs. So Shiva, the second 7 is going to complete the first 7, and all of that sort of folds into tikach lecha as well. Ish. This has a munach. So this is going to be separated out from the things that are going to be before it and lead on to the concept that goes after it. Number 7.
Well, the fact that Ish Bishto is already remarkable because there's a Chaver Nekevad. This is the first time. It's almost making them human. You don't say a man and his wife for animals usually.
That's true. I mean, I suppose that it make it one or two of those animals that mate for life. You know, it can't be geese or swans or something. But they have that kind of relationship. But whatever. That's probably stretching it.
It shall also be observed that a male partner shall be in the lead and indicate the direction. So why is this separated out from what comes before? Probably because this is talking about all animals, not just the not just the tahor ones, because that we need something for the munach to say that that it's separated out from the concept of what's gone before and leading forward.
No, maybe it's because maybe only the Torah ones are called ish ve'ishto, and that's how it's separated out from the non-kosher ones, which are called zachar v'nekeva.
Well, but in the second half in the sefer of the pasuk it says shnayim ish v'ishto, right? Asher lo Torah hi shnayim ish v'ishto, so it still refers to ish v'ishto, even in that context.
Right.
But that's why I remarked ish, like it's interesting with the munach, because at that point what's the break?
So we'll compare it when we get to the second ish v'ishto in the last half of the pasuk, and perhaps we'll gain more insight by then, seeing once it's a munach and once it's a meracha. Ve'ishto, and it's female. So it's interesting here that he is translating ish ve'ishto as a male and it's female, not the more literal translation which he normally uses, a man and his wife, which would be the more direct translation. So
Why is he doing that? Okay, male, female is zachar v'nekeva. Why is he translating it like that?
Because we are truly talking about animals. We're not talking about people. So he needed to keep it in context, exactly, to keep it referring to what it truly is referring to.
Jeff, here could he not have added perhaps the et machtav being, you talked about stability and so forth,
right?
Where perhaps we could say that the female adds that stability to if it was humans, to the home, but I guess maybe in the animal kingdom as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also symmetry and a balance.
Yeah.
Male and female counterparts for a unit.
Right.
The balance, the et machtav, is only on ve'ishto.
Right.
But it started with ish, which is a break where no one else is included in this dyad, and it goes on to the next word.
So that might be the concept that's being introduced here, is the idea of the monogamous couple, or the couple that really excludes all others. So ish ve'ishto, ish is separating out from all the other animals that are before it and just leading into ve'ishto. And don't forget, we're in the ratio in the first half of the pasuk, and we have the more elevated concept here. And in the second half, we might have to deal with the truth and the reality of what's going to happen in the animal kingdom, that they don't end up necessarily completely monogamous.
Maybe the separation is also that there was no relations in the teva.
We haven't come into the teva yet, so I don't know if that's...
Or foreshadowing.
Yeah.
There are not going to be... You think your husband might, but there's no
Number
hanky-panky in the teva.
The male walking in front, and its female of the species shall follow the male, and this shall be treated as standard principle and proof of purity. So he's saying something more than just that they're a couple. He's saying that their behavior, the fact that the one follows the other like it's supposed to, is going to prove that they are in fact the pure animals of a proper couple of pure animals. So Noach is going to get this extra clue that he's chosen the right ones.
Makes sense, given that the animals have deviated from their natural desires, and so the ones that actually follow the right path, those are the ones to save. That's very good.
It's interesting that.
No, but so you mean all the animals that went on the ark were the ones that didn't forget kosher, not kosher? The ones that were saved, only two of these were they didn't do the.
But Jeff, if I understand what Jeff is saying in translating the sefer, is that by virtue of the fact that the male leads, female follows, and they follow in the pure path, pure way, suggests these are animals who haven't deviated their nature to do other things that were inappropriate, for which the flood is being brought.
But even the non-pure animals are saved.
Yeah.
So they're acting purely even though they're not pure.
Not pure for sacrifice, but pure in terms of the purpose of what they were created.
Okay, we have an extra note that comes here. Rashi repeats the statement of Midrash, so I'll read you the Rashi directly. shiva shiva, kedei she'akriv mehem korban b'tzeito, so that he will make from them the sacrifice when he goes out of the ark. And just the previous Rashi that we had also quoted, HaTorah, Ha'atid liot Torah l'Yisrael, the ones that are going to in the future be Torah for the people of Israel. L'lamdenu shalamad Noach Torah, that it teaches us that Noach in fact studied the Torah. So Rashi has sort of gone over the same concept twice in two successive translations, and the question is, why did Rashi have to say it again when he had already said it previously that he was going to make a korban out of them? So let's see if we get any insight here. Rashi repeats the statement of the Midrash that Noach was ordered to preserve 7 pairs for the purpose to make sacrifice on his leaving the ark, but for this purpose alone 7 pairs would be superfluous. If he's going to make sacrifice, then okay, you've given 1 and you got 6 left. Why didn't you just have 3? God was not hungry to require 7 pairs to be preserved. Wouldn't 3 pairs be sufficient in view of the limited space in the box? It seems to me that the number 7 was adaptable to the principle of cleanliness. Besides the clean, so he's defining tehorah as cleanliness. Besides, the clean animals would keep suffering the heaviest losses due to their relative passivity, being victims of carnivorous animals as food for people, and sacrifices, etc. Therefore, their reproduction had to be increased to fill the gap. Rashi's statement contradicts the prophet.
Who was that referring to?
Kahil Gibran.
Oh.
Okay.
Kahil Gibran. He wasn't from. I wish he wasn't Gibran.
And again, we've got this is a little cryptic.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Everything.
So, I mean, quite obviously the number 7 pairs is a larger number than is required. 7 is a number that has a sense of completion or holiness to it. At least we see that in our tradition, and we see the number 7 being referred to as the natural order, which is something that the animals were not conforming to. So having 7 pairs is perhaps implying that these are 7 pairs that we're going to keep to the natural order, which is the concept that we're seeing in Ish v'Ishto with the Munach and with the Etnachta. So I think he's trying to emphasize that through the number 7.
Well, 7.
And also to explain the abundance of, the abundance of these domesticated animals that we need for food. Otherwise, right? Because if you sort of left them in their own, especially compared to the other wilder animals, you wouldn't have enough historically, I guess. And that's what he's trying to
So
Well, lions and tigers.
Procreate.
Sorry? No, but the point of the
Right,
lions
but
eat
you're
them and the demons eat them.
he's starting from the concept of
yeah.
the idea of them being tahor is flowing out of several intrinsic elements within them. Number 1, they know the natural order. Number 2, they actually demonstrate and conform to that natural order. Number 3, by their nature, they're more passive, therefore they're more likely to be, in the future, eaten or attacked by other animals, which is, certainly a feature that we see in delineation of which birds are not allowed. Certainly, all the ones that are not allowed are ones that are more carnivorous, more predatory. So.
But the 7, they're not also superfluous, because if you figure who's going to get korbanot afterwards? Noah. And who says he's just going to give one pair? And then there's Noah's 3 sons, so there may be 4 sacrifices right there. You know what I mean?
For the wedding, you have to make brisket and something. You start running out pretty quickly.
Yeah, but absolutely, I mean, it has to do with the time right after the ark. Because right now, if they are in greater number, it's only because of our domestic intentions. It's not a natural order. but they will have many occasions to give sacrifices in that time.
Yeah.
We're going to go on. Umin habehema, and from the cattle. Number 9. This has a pazer, so we're going to turn back to page LXV in the introduction. And we're going to see that pazer is a high trumpet with an insignificant bass, capable to develop a minor event into large ramifications of striking proportions. So when we look at the actual construction of the note, this is something that's going on top of a word, and
It looks like an N word.
it is going to have a minor bass, and it's going to lead to great magnification above. So we're going to emphasize something to a great degree, perhaps starting from a point of weakness or smallness.
And the name is significant. Did we do names or did I miss that? You've been clumsy names. Because Bazer is like the Bazer. And
the meanings of the...
yeah, it starts from a point and
We
then
have,
the Bazer spreads out.
we have not. We wanted
Okay.
sort of to perhaps go through an entire parsha first.
No, but that can
and
help
then
us,
come
I'm
to it.
saying. They can leave, like, mapach, mapecha, term, you know.
At least for the first parsha that we go through, I want to stay with, as best we can, the purity of what was trying to be presented by the author. And then if we want to go into, occasional sidelines, I'm certainly not going to stop that, but I don't want to adulterate the thoughts until we've gone through at least a parsha and everybody is comfortable with saying what each note is and what it's supposed to mean.
It might help, like the same way you said before.
And it might introduce something that we really don't want here. The only concept that I have introduced that's outside of the text, simply because I think it adds an awful lot of extra meaning, is the concept of the ratio, the first half of the pasuk being perhaps the more elevated and the second half perhaps being the more earthly, because I think that adds a lot of contrast in tone to the poetry of reading Torah. But that's the only thing that I've introduced that's not directly from the Sefer. And again, we'll make side comments. I'm not gonna stop the flow of conversation. But I don't want to introduce too many of our own thoughts yet into our regular study until we've gone through a good bit of the text. So I agree, Alan. We are going to do it. It is important. It will add more, but we're going to do it a little later, just to get ourselves into the proper rhythm. And from the cattle, which are pazer, thus Noach was ordered to save the clean cattle, and from the cattle that have been domesticated, a proper number shall be saved for various purposes, as specified by the shape of the reading mark. So he's saying that, yes, we're going to save the behemoth, we're going to save the cattle, and some of them are going to turn into something that is very special and very dedicated, and something that's going to have a more elevated and important purpose. So we're going to take something that is very perhaps small, and we're going to magnify it and raise it up and make it something that is big and important, and that is exactly the concept of what's going to be done with the behemoth Torah. A share. So this is a tlisha gdola. The print here doesn't have the top as a complete circle. So
It also looks like a Bazer, but it's not.
So it should look like almost
Like when you blow
almost a
bubbles.
letter Q, circle with a line going forward. The line doesn't actually cross into the circle, but in the print, it's
That's
perhaps
a
not.
Klishak Dalat, right?
Yes,
The one you just drew is not the
this
one
is a
that's on the
tlisha
Asher.
gdola.
That's what that is.
It's a tlisha gdola.
It is. It's pointing to the left.
Tlisha
Not
gdola.
points to the right.
Yeah, but the picture you drew is not the one on the top of the Asher. It's going the other
Yes,
way.
it
Oh,
is.
that way. Oh, you had it, okay.
No.
I thought it was upside down before, or I looked it up.
Okay.
Not local form, tomorrow, but tonight,
And we're going to go back to our introduction just because we haven't done a tlisha in a while.
How do you help?
Tlisha Gdola, we're on page LXVI in the introduction, number 21. Tlisha Gdola is a king of a cause which leads to an effect. The origin of the cause is early and obscure, as marked by the place on the first letter of the word, indicating antecedent factors. So Tlisha Gdola, as we'll recall, always comes on the first letter of the word, and if there's another syllable that's accented, then you'll have a second Tlisha Gdola on the word, but it always has at least one at the beginning. So what it's telling us is, it's coming from somewhere that we're not quite sure where it's beginning from, and it's going to move on from there. It's going to emphasize it, and it's going to say that there was something before, and it's going to move on. And it is of importance. So we're going to tie in Umin HaBehema, we're going to tie in the stuff that's come before, and we're going to lead in some obscure way, because we don't know what's going to be special about these animals that we just made very, very important. So that's why we have a Tlisha Gdola. Asher, number 10, you have appeared, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong number 10, obviously. Asher.
Next page, page 19.
I'm going to the next page. By the fact that it was not involved in sex deviations and intermingling, it was considered an original sample of creation, as illustrated by the shape and placement of the reading mark. So the Tlisha is leading back to something that is a while ago and obscure. It's telling us that these animals, in fact, are ones that were not involved in the Chet Hador, in the sin of the generation, and we see the hint that these animals are ones that are going to follow proper procedure, and that's why Noach is going to know that these are in fact the pure animals. So we again get an intimation of that from the Tlisha Gdola. Lo, not. So this is a munach. This is going to separate it out from what has gone before and then lead forward. Even if it did not qualify for eating or sacrifice, but by the standards of creation, it was viewed as a clean sample of the work of God, as conveyed by the shape of the reading mark. So, and again, it's the modus operandi of the translation. So, the fact that he needs to repeat the phrase is not surprising. The ones that are not clean, even though they are not going to go to this higher purpose with the obscure traits that we had ascribed to the other animals. So that's the separation from the things before. But they are going to continue on. They are going to go into the ark.
How much I don't know if you commented on this, but I'm just noticing now, how much we have to be medayik b'lashon when he says, let's say by the directional shape of the reading mark, or the shape of the directional reading mark. Those are two, you know what I mean? Because I'm reading a book now called Learning Torah, or Understanding Torah. So that's significant. It's not the same thing. I don't know how, you know what I'm saying? Look at this. Well, he says like a refrain. The shape of, let's say 4, shape of the reading mark. Then the next 5 is directional shape of the reading mark. 6 is shape of the directional reading mark.
Closing shape of the directional reading mark.
Closing, it's like each one is different. As per the reading mark.
Doesn't have meaning.
So we're trying to say is the shape that the reading mark has gives you a way to understand it.
What he's saying is, though, the nuance between the way he's explaining it in English is there, and it can be seen in that.
I understand.
But they all say shape of the reading mark. Some form or not, but they all say shape of the reading mark.
Maybe he's emphasizing
Shape of the related reading mark. Like they're all different. Directional shape of the reading mark. Related reading mark. So there doesn't say, shape of the related.
Well, there are only a certain number of reading marks. It's like there are only a certain number of letters in the alphabet, but they might have different meanings in different contexts. So he might be pointing out a specific characteristic of this reading mark that relates to this pirush. So sometimes what matters is what came before it, and sometimes what matters is where it's leading to and where it's ending.
So some of the notes are directional. Mahapach, Pashta, certainly Mercha and Tipcha are directional. It's important that you emphasize the idea that these things are bringing in from before or leading to afterwards, and they're pointing to a direction. Whereas when you look at a Revi'i or a Tlisha, these notes are a Pazer, emphasizing that word, but aren't necessarily have so much of a directional component to them. So he's not mentioning the word directional there at all, because that's not a function of
all
that.
I was saying is very exact.
It's not a function of that note.
It's not haphazard.
Right.
So
very
it's
exact.
not haphazard. It is perhaps partially just not to have the exact same phrase at the end of each at the end of each comment. But I think you are correct. Is that he is saying which characteristic of the note is the important one that's giving the extra meaning, whether it's the shape or the fact that it has directionality or the fact that it is encompassing things from before or leading to things that are after is certainly the focus.
But even that, like, look between 5 and 6, even though they're both 7. The one is directional shape,
and
the
the
other
second
shape
one
of the directional.
is the closing
Closing
shape,
yeah.
which is the specific function of tipcha.
Right.
Tehora, number 12, clean, is a mercha. Mercha gently wraps in the things that are before and leads to what's going to go afterwards. Although it was not considered clean for certain uses, it remained clean, exempt from experimentation, and unchanged by its behavior and looks, just as it was meant to be originally, as shown by the directional shape of the reading mark. So even the animals that are not tahor have a certain tahorut, they have a certain purity about them.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be being saved.
So I was saying the ones that are being saved, even though in the future they will not have a sacrificial or any religious role, they still were pure specimens of their species, and that's how they get.
2 out of millions.
And
There's only 2.
That's all you need.
And that's how they still get this idea of each word giving an entire sentence or an entire thought. So if they even get the word tehorah, something about them, if they're lo tehorah, they have something of tehorah about them.
Which is very also telling that usually you say Torah and Tmeya. This is very rare that you say not pure instead of saying Tamei, which is already a hint that
he has a note on that coming.
It, number 13, with a tavir. Tavir again is something that is being sheltered from something that's outside of it.
the whole ark is that. The whole ark should be.
It deserved, therefore, to continue its presence, and it also should be admitted to the ark.
Where are you?
13.
Page 20.
He. So this has a tavir on it, and it's telling us that these animals are again getting shelter because of their intrinsic nature, because of what's inside of them.
But what is he? Wait a minute. Where is this? That word is strange to begin with.
Ashelot Rahi.
Oh, Ashelot Rahi. Oh, I get it. I was doing.
So again, when we're talking about animals, he's making the distinction of not using the word she, but using the word it. So, and when we talk about ish v'ishto, he's using male and female, not man and wife, because we are specifically referring to animals. So he's coming out of his literal mode of translation, because otherwise you completely lose the context. And we have an extra note on lo tehorahi, and this is the point that you just made, Alan, instead of tmeya, indicates, as a rabbi said in Psachim, that a man shall always speak with clean language. V'lam yidaber adam b'lashon nekiyah. So he's not making your point, he's making a different point. He's making the point that these animals did have the status of qualifying to go into the ark, so you shouldn't badmouth them in any way. They are the best of lo tehorahid, not to be referred to as tmeah.
Wait a minute. Look, what's under the tibir, right?
Tibir.
And what do you say tibir? Because is there any way
something being sheltered from something else, and it also has some of the concept of mercha in it, something that